Okay, so let's get started. All right, hey everybody, and welcome to Chiu Stream. This is going to be really fun and exciting. Hope you guys are excited as well. If you liked the last workout, the last um, video that I posted on uh, the portraits before, then you'll totally enjoy this one. Okay, so this one you can tell, or maybe you can't tell, I don't know, but you can tell there's different head sizes here. This is to help expand your imagination even more. Okay, you can also tell that they look more feminine in this one, which is something that I am constantly trying to practice with this year to try to, concentrate on how to paint female figures as well. It's not something that I've been the best at, but I felt like it was important that we kind of tackle this together. Perhaps you're really good at it. If you are, then you're going to have a great time with this. Okay, so see a whole bunch of people saying, "Hey, morning, morning. How's it going?" Bernita is asking, "Will the stream be live on YouTube or something?" I will put it on YouTube afterwards. Generally, if you want to catch it live, you're going to catch it live right here, right now. And somebody is reminding me that it's actually the afternoon in Italy. It's not the morning. So why don't we give a bunch of shout outs to some people out there that are listening halfway across the world or wherever you are. Let me know where you're from and I'll give you a big shout out, okay? So there's UK, there's Rayleigh. I totally butchered that one. Um, New Hampshire. New Hampshire's here. We got Belgium, Florida. Here they come. India, Dallas, Texas, San Jose, Northern Ireland, Peru, Russia, Spain, London, Florida, Brazil, Amsterdam, UK, Montreal, Brazil, Czech Republic, Australia, Germany, Netherlands, Moscow, Quebec, San Diego. Holy smokes. Right on. Hungary, London, India, Brazil, 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 Malaysia, Portugal, everywhere. Right on. Welcome everybody to another uh, drawing exercise, the Chew Stream. Come draw with me, or you can draw your own thing. It's up to you. Most important thing is that we spend some time, out of our busy schedules to just paint for ourselves, draw for ourselves, and perhaps, talk a bit about art and, the direction it's going and things like that. You know, I always say that when you're making your goals, effort is super important. But it won't matter if you don't have common sense. And you're going to develop a lot of common sense from talking with people in the industry, talking about your industry, learning more and more about it and keeping up to date with it. Because it's so important that even though we're trying hard, that we still look up every once in a while, see what everybody else is doing, see where the world is going, and think about it. You don't have to follow it, but think about it. That's hugely important. For example, when I was just starting off, people weren't doing very much freelance, especially um, in another country, things like that. People were more apprehensive. At that time, there was no Facebook. I think YouTube was just this new, completely new site. So it's quite a long time ago. But I distinctly remember thinking about it. This is where the world is going to turn. Right now, this is where people engage and find other artists on the internet. It's not through just books. It's through websites and things like that. And of course, looking at it now in hindsight, looking at it from this point, of course it makes sense. But back then, nobody was doing it. Nobody was doing it. And so It really takes the kind of people that are constantly observing and then rethinking, how is everybody doing this? Is that the best way possible? Is there another way? And that's something that not enough people nowadays do anymore. Because when you're wondering about something, when you have a question about something, what do you do usually? Nowadays, people just look it up. What's the answer? Look it up. Well, if nobody's ever done it before, and you're thinking about it, and you could be the first, if you don't think for yourself, then you probably wouldn't try it anymore. Because it's like we feel like the answers are already out there. The answers are already, you know, in um, on the internet. And to truly evolve things, to truly advance industries and things like that, it takes independent thinking. So yes, definitely pay attention to everything that everybody's doing. Yes, definitely put in all the effort you can. But when you're climbing towards your goals, make sure it's the right tree. Make sure that there's fruits on top. Make sure that it isn't just a bunch of dead branches. Use your common sense. Okay, so a bunch of people already know how the Chiu stream works. Okay, um, you can type your answers into the chat or the questions into the chat, and I'll pick them up and paste them onto a file and answer them one at a time. Um, the other thing I want to mention is that always try and do good, always try and do positive things. So today we are giving away a 1 year schoolism subscription to a class of your choice. One of the year subscriptions that we're giving away on our Kickstarter. Okay, now the Kickstarter, it's kind of like the my main mission in life almost for the last bunch of years. It's all about making education completely affordable, not just kind of affordable, but completely affordable. Okay? Um, I'm talking about something that you don't have to save up for, something that can be just the price of a. We try to equate it like this. We want to make education the price of a meal once a month. Something that low that pretty much everybody in the world can appreciate and afford it. You know, Perhaps some people in the world might need to save up. Okay, but most people will not have to save up and they can just continue the education on and on and on because that's the direction we're all going towards right now. You know, just constantly educating yourself. Because if you don't, well, everybody else is. And people are going to surpass you that way. The industry will surpass you that way if you don't have constant um, improvement. Okay, so let's see here. Um, so, anyways, the Kickstarter, definitely, if you haven't pledged for it now and you're a person that likes to learn, definitely pledge for it you know, before the time's up because there's about 30 something days left. And the prizes, the rewards that you're going to get are going to be awesome and they'll be, you know, life changing, career changing as long as you put the effort into it, do the assignments, learn the techniques, learn the lessons. Okay. So let's go to some other things I want to mention. So, if you go to facebook.com/bobby.chew and share, I guess it's the second post there now, okay? Share the second post there where it says I'm giving away a year subscription for Schoolism for free. Share that post, or you can go onto my Twitter, bobby.chew, and, or sorry, is it bobby.chew? I don't even know my own username. It's just Bobby Chiu. Okay, Bobby, Bobbychiu. Share the second post there, and I will choose one or the other to select a winner. Okay, or you could do both. Um, the next thing I want to mention was this week it's going to be super fun. Calgary, going to the Calgary Expo. Haven't been there for a good while, and I'm coming back. Bring some friends. We're bringing Steven Silver there. We're bringing Stanley, Art Germ Lau there. We're bringing my main buddy from Schoolism. Well, all of these are main buddies, I guess. But another one of my very good friends, Nathan Fowkes, the incredible Nathan Fowkes. So it's going to be Steven Silver, Nathan Fowkes, Stanley Art Germ Lau, Kay Asadera, and myself at the Calgary Expo. It's going to be awesome. And afterwards, stay for the Calgary workshop. The Calgary workshop, schoolism workshop, where you can learn from all these teachers in some really awesome workshops after the convention's done. And I'm looking forward to seeing my buddy um, Alberto Ruiz. Haven't seen this man in quite a long time. He moved to Ecuador and kind of just stayed there for a good while. So somebody's asking, what is pledge in Kickstarter? Well, a pledge is when you pledge some money to receive a reward. That's the idea here. So, you can just pledge some money to the subscription that you'd like, and then you'll get it. Okay. So, let's go to the next. Oops. Let's go to the next thing here. Calgary Expo, that's happening this week. Calgary Workshop, Schoolism Workshop, April 20th to 21st. Then there's the Berlin workshop. There is no London workshop this year. I'm sorry. Hate to break it to you guys, but it's kind of better that you know now than later instead of waiting for it and then you miss out on the Berlin workshop. There is no London workshop this year. Complications with venue space, time just kind of ran out, but we are doing Berlin. So definitely try to make it to Berlin because it's going to be an amazing workshop. It's going to be with Steven Silver, character design. It's going to be with Marcelo Vignali, figure drawing and design. And then it's going to be with Paula Zane, art director on Lord of the Rings, production designer at Warner Brothers, animation. Also worked on, Prince of Egypt and all these things. The man he's a true master of his craft. So definitely, try to meet us there because it's going to be awesome. Okay, so Kickstarter has 36 days left, and let's go to some questions. So the first question here is, what is your favorite travel drawing setup? If I'm if I'm traveling and working in my hotel room, generally the Wacom Companion, that's my go-to. That one's awesome. If it's if it's drawing outside and I have to do digital painting, then generally I would take my Surface Pro 2. Um, I think they're up to Surface Pro 3 now, I don't know. But that's really nice because it's a little smaller, so it's just a little easier on my arms holding that thing up because, I had arm problems for a good while. Um, then I guess my main kind of thing is if I'm painting, I usually will paint with acrylic. If I'm traveling around and such, or watercolor, and then just the general sketchbook. Okay, next question here is question, are there any plans for continuing Imaginism Canvas? There's been a while since the last update. I love the content, especially Ben's stories. Awesome. I'm gonna let him know that because he really enjoys writing those stories. He's pretty swamped right now. We're pretty swamped right now. The Imaginism Canvas took up a lot of time, so uh, we're actually going to be sending out another article very soon, either today or tomorrow, just dealing with portfolios. And now that I'm in a position where I show my portfolio as well as receive portfolios for people to hire, things like that, then a lot of times um, I'll, sorry, what the heck was I saying? Right, portfolios. A lot of times I'll have things that I want to tell people about what is going to make a exciting portfolio or whatever, and then just kind of sorry, there's a bunch of things going on here, but the whole entire idea is that this is going to be an article on portfolios and what to put in there and what are the kind of like the common things I find that people should not do with portfolios but constantly do. Um, there you go. So, next question here is erasing wrong or bad? I've been told it's a taboo. Uh, you know, I don't think it's wrong or bad. I don't think it's taboo. I can tell you, however, that Craig Mullins, legend of legends, the first digital painter to paint things that were actually painterly looking, um, perhaps the best digital painter in the world. He was in Toronto doing the Toronto workshop just a few weeks ago, and for the people that saw him there would have noticed that he hardly ever erases. Hardly ever, maybe didn't even erase ever during that whole entire time. And as scary as it sounds, he was painting on one layer, just one layer only. You know, I think that says a little something about confidence, don't you think? Confidence in drawing and things like that. Uh, Peter de Sèvres, when he was in Berlin, or sorry, when he was in Florence doing his Florence workshop for schoolism, he didn't erase. He drew a bunch of characters. I don't think he erased one time. I don't think he had an eraser. This exercise, maybe let's just talk about this exercise for a second. This exercise will help with that because you can see that, well, digital painting can be a little bit different. I'm erasing stuff right now, but the main thing about this exercise is that you are to visualize everything that you do before you do it, which will gain confidence and so that you will not have to erase as much because you're building, building, building your visualizing muscles. Okay, so let's explain this. little exercise a little bit further. Don't use reference. I know you want to. I know I want to, but don't do it. Trust in yourself. Trust that you are going to do some bad portraits in the beginning. That's okay. This is a warm up. This is an exercise for your artistic abilities, to increase your artistic abilities. Okay? This is the exercise. So don't use any reference. Use what you know. And then when you're done, feel free to look things up, to paint some more, correct some things, whatever you want to do. But every time that you do these exercises right in the beginning, don't use any reference. This way, you will be able to pay a lot more attention to reference when you see it, and you'll try to retain it more because you know that every day you do a little warm-up exercise and you're not going to be using any reference. Okay, after you do the 1 hour, then go ahead, pick up some reference if you like. Okay, now you can see here, now I'm starting to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to a different model of the head. Obviously this one is not realistic. It's not meant to be realistic. It's meant to be kind of cartoonish, right? Visualize the possibilities here. Visualize the face there before you actually paint it down. Now it's different proportions. Now it's perhaps something that you are not used to. But perhaps after you do this, you will get more used to it. You'll see the beauty in this design and it will connect with you, perhaps. And you will grow from this. Use something somewhat like this and grow from it. Okay? So visualize every brushstroke. Even if you have to just kind of stare at it for a moment and you're not actually painting, do that. Because this is a drawing exercise to increase your visualizing ability. The point here is not to draw pretty pictures. Pretty pictures will become the result of trying to visualize better and better, getting better and better at it. Okay? And if you're wondering, you came in late, you're wondering, where do I get this file from that you're painting on top of, that I'm painting on top of? You just go to the link just underneath the video on live stream, or if you're watching this off of YouTube later on, you can click on the link on screen to get the file. Okay? Now, let's go to lots of questions coming in, so please keep them coming. And when you do have a question, I think the best thing to do is right in the beginning, write the word question and then colon and then begin your question. And that'll make it even easier for me to see what's a question, what's not a question. Okay? Okay, so let me see here. Next question is also a question. Okay, so here's the question. Being a digital artist, do you practice traditional art just as much? Just as much. I think it goes in waves. I'm sure many artists feel the same way. Like you kind of just get into something. All of a sudden, it's all about pastels now. You can do pastels like crazy, and then all of a sudden later on, it's all about acrylic painting, and then it's also all of a sudden about Corel Painter, or then it goes into Photoshop, and then Autodesk Sketchbook or whatever it might be. Um, right now, I would say that, yeah, I think I'm pretty much like half traditional drawing now and then half painting. Painting is more for my job, the project I'm working on currently. Um, but yeah, when I when I have time for myself right now, I'm doing a lot of drawings actually. Okay, next question. What happened to Chris Pern? Chris Pern's storyboard class. Well, I was saying before, the audio on Chris Burns' class, some people they didn't like the audio, and we had a bunch of complaints, and we want to maintain the highest quality, so we took it off for now. But you know what? The content is so darn good. I just might ask Chris to put it back on, or if we could put it back on. So we'll see. Okay, stay tuned. Somebody keeps asking this question, what version of the Surface Pro is best for Photoshop? The Surface Pro. What version of the Surface Pro is best for Photoshop? Well, I have the Surface Pro 2. Okay, I don't know if you're putting i3, i5, or i7. Is that the operating system? I don't know. I don't know what that means. But I have a Surface Pro 2. It's okay. It's pretty good. Um, Wacom Companion, I find it even better when I have a desk, but if I have to hold in my hands, it gets a little heavy. Okay, let's go to the next question here, which is, okay, so next question goes, I'm not really good with portraits. How are you drawing without reference? What are you thinking about as you're drawing? Shadows, features? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, great question. What I'm thinking about is what is the most important thing to put down first? Is it more important to put, say, eyelashes on before kind of determining what side of the face is in shadow? What side of the head is in shadow? You know, I generally I find the most important things about the portrait first is just creating an overall shape. Now, a lot of times you want to put a lot of shadow there, but it really depends on of how much shadow do you want to put in. Do you want to put in some soft lighting? Then you're going to have soft shadows. Are you going to put in harsh, dramatic lighting? Perhaps if it's like a cool kind of character or perhaps mysterious kind of character, then we'd want to put in some dark shadows. Um, the key to this all is to, for me anyways, I know there's a billion ways to do things, and my way is definitely not the only way, but what has worked for me is starting off with the big details first, right? Getting those big details to work first before the others. You can see that, um, as I start painting the heads, I don't go into contrasting details first. I try to build things out in a very casual, more subtle way. I'm using tones that are very close to the tones that I'm painting on top of. You can try doing the same thing. When they're tones that are a lot closer together, it's the equivalent of drawing very lightly, right? When you draw really lightly, it gives you the opportunity to put in darker marks later on, and those darker marks are more accurate because you have those lighter marks to kind of go by. But really, the even bigger picture is just picturing the stuff before I actually put it down. That's what will really, really help. All right, next question here. Okay, so the person I was asking about the portraits, try to stay away from small little details. That's why people always say squint your eyes. When you squint your eyes, you blur out the details and you're just concentrating on the bigger picture, the main parts to it, the main descriptions to it, okay? So next question. Next question says, when the pledge subscription ends, when can we sign up for the future subscriptions? Do you think it will take a long time, or is it possible very soon after the Kickstarter project? We are going to try our very best to make it as soon as possible. Okay, the Kickstarter went very well. It's going very well, and you know, we still got a little bit over 30 days left. So we're expecting to hopefully, you know, reach all of our stretch goals and have the subscription price as low as we can. Okay, if you like the schoolism classes, if you've done them before, you want to do more, sign up for it because it doesn't just help you, it helps the whole community. And if you've never had the opportunity to try a schoolism class, definitely try it because I'm sure many of the people in the audience have tried it as well and have nothing but good things to say about it. So try it out. You know, the most kind of important thing to reach your goal is to have that focus, to know exactly what it is you want to do with your life. You know, the most important ingredient to a successful career is being able to define exactly what you want. Once you know that, do everything that you can towards that goal. And do everything you can to not go away from your goal. So in other words, um, if your absolute goal is to learn how to paint painterly and you get a big contract to do a whole bunch of vector art, don't do it. If you can, don't do it. If you're going to be starving, do it. Again, it goes back to the whole entire thing about using your common sense. Okay? So let's go on to the next question here. Okay, the whole thing about the Surface Pro, what Surface Pro Intel Core processor am I using? Actually, I don't know. I was given the Surface Pro as a gift for doing a talk in Vegas maybe like a year and a half ago. So I don't really know. Okay, let's go to the next question because there's a whole bunch of questions. Okay, next question says, what are the warm-up exercises you suggest to do every day, traditional or digital? Okay, so in order to answer this, I'll give you a very simple answer that's going to be great. Okay, go to youtube.com/digital bobbert. It's like Robert, except it's starting with a B. Digital bobbert, that's my YouTube page. Okay, if you go to that page and you go to playlists, I have a playlist on there that's called drawing exercises. Go to that, and there's plenty of drawing exercises, warm-up exercises that you can do every day, traditional or digital. If you do it digital, a lot of those exercises, I have working files that you can actually download so that you can paint with me. Those working files are designed to help you visualize better, to help you visualize not just the kinds of drawings, the kind of paintings that I'm doing, but it will help to unleash your own visualizations, your own designs. That is the purpose of those uh, working files. And I've been seeing some awesome progress with people. So big shouts out to everybody that's been doing them. It's great to see all the wonderful pieces. And next time I'll definitely show some examples from the Chiu streamers that have been doing these exercises because they've been really cool, really good looking. Okay, let's go on to the next question here. So the question goes, I read an article where the author suggested that art students currently employed in not so good jobs should focus learning to code for a year and get a better paying job first. Do you agree? Uh, In what case should anyone postpone art studies 100% and spend the free time studying something for the sake of money or security? All right, well, you know what? I'm gonna have to disagree with this person's answer completely. Completely. With such passion, I would need to disagree with this. The only time that you take a job that is not pointing directly towards your goal is when you cannot eat anymore, when you need to have food or medication or whatever for your family, for you, for your children. That is the only time I would say don't, to take a job for the money. Money is so momentary. It's so just it just helps you for a bit until you end up, using it. Once you spent it, now that money doesn't help you at all. When you learn a skill, it continues to help you. And the funny thing is, the more you use it up, the more you benefit from it because you just get better and better at it. I took one job when we started our studio. I took one job where I was just like, this person was asking me to do a project that I was not into, right? Painting something that I was definitely not into, a subject matter that I was definitely not into. Um, so instead of just saying no, I sent him a response back just saying, yeah, I'll do it for this price. And I was thinking, if they take it for this price, then that's more than enough, money for me to be happy with it, right? If you if you take a job just for the money, many times you will regret it in the end. Okay, don't get complacent with your goals. Have an awesome goal that will for sure make you happy and make every effort to take jobs that coincide with that goal, that get you closer to that goal. And any job that doesn't have to do with that goal, don't take it. Now, somebody's saying, Mr. Clark is saying, well, didn't you study business? How has that helped you as an artist? And would you do things differently in terms of schooling if you can go back in time? Well, business, even though that is not drawing and painting, it still lines up with my goals, right? I wanted to be an independent artist. So, if you want to be an independent artist, learn about business, find other independent artists that you can learn from, you know, read books on being independent, a bit independent business person, perhaps, so you would also be reading business type books. If you're independent, you would be reading marketing books. Okay? If I was going to if I was going to do a project that didn't line up with my goals as being a creature designer or whatever it might be, it must help me still to get better creature designing jobs. Now, some jobs, they might not be directly pointing at your goal, but when you think about it, it actually would help you get closer to your goal indirectly. So, for example, perhaps your goal is to, um, this really great director that you want to work with gives you an opportunity to work on a project that you are not very interested in. You might just take that job anyways because taking that job will get you closer to working on the type of project that you want to work on with the director that you want to work on because you're already working with them. You're building that relationship. And as unfair as it sounds, guarantee you ask any, working professional that's doing well, So much of your career is who you know. It's just when you're getting started, you have to get people to notice you in order for them to know you and for you to know them and so on and so forth. So still very, important to do other things besides perhaps getting to become an expert at creatures. If you have the same goal as me to work on things that are about whimsical, fantastical creatures, it'll still be very important to learn other things. But, would I spend all my time, you know, um, doing a job where it's perhaps painting little, I don't know, little doll houses? I get a job offering to paint a bunch of doll houses. It's not for an industry that I want to work with or work for, or it's not with people that I want to keep working for, whatever it might be. There would be no reason for me to take that job. Okay. I just really needed to express that because that answer in that article is totally wrong. I rarely say that. But if you're a person that, is currently employed in a bad job, well, the person says, the author suggested that art students currently employed in bad jobs should focus learning to code for a year and get a better paying job first. No, I don't agree with that at all. I think that that person, that art student that has a bad job, hopefully you get a job that's bad but gives you a lot of time to yourself, like working at a gas station, midnight shift. Like working in a convenience store, midnight shift, when nobody's coming in and you get time to draw for yourself. I had a job as a data manager. Did I learn anything in that job that really helped me, um, towards my goals? No. But what it did do was it gave me time to myself so that I can just keep drawing, keep drawing, keep drawing. I would much rather have a bad job than a bad art job. Bad art jobs make you do art that you don't want to do. And the love of what we do, the love of art, we need to keep that sacred. We need to protect that. We can't let anybody hurt that. Because I've also had a bad art job before. What do you want to do when you get home from a bad art job? Most people, they don't want to draw anymore. They come home, they don't want to draw anymore. Now, if you're the exact opposite, then by all means, take bad art jobs. If it makes you want to draw more when you get home, like you want to get out of that position, totally do it. Know yourself, though. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to mention, this is digressing a bit, but just thought about it, um, is the whole entire fact that what you do in school, what you do when you first start your job, um, it might be a lot. You might do a lot. You might put a lot of effort into it. I know I did. And I'm sure every great artist has had their period of time where they spent an exuberant amount of time on bettering their skills. The best ones keep going. They keep learning. Not only that, but they learn on a ferocious pace. Because you did, it's not what you did in the past that's important, but what you're going to do next, which is even more important. Gotta keep it going. We have to, I believe it's all about learning to love to be passionate about your craft, learning to love to work hard, learning to love challenges. Nobody likes challenges, but those are the roadblocks in our way to leveling up our lives. Think about it. What can you do today that you don't want to do but is good for you? What would that thing be? And if you became extremely good at it, what kind of opportunities are you opening up in your life? Okay, some really great questions coming in all day today. It's awesome. Let's go to the next question here, which is, what is your favorite way to approach structure, construction studies? Do you just look up references of things and try to simplify them? Or is there any exercise to work with? Construction, structure, studies. Generally, I like to do this kind of stuff first where I'm not looking at any reference and just going for it. You know, I like to start off with that first. But of course, we still need to study other things. So, three things after this, okay? One is studying from other artists that drew whatever subject matter uh, you want to draw, and they've done it extremely well. Okay, study that. Then study photographs and diagrams of the subject matter that you're trying to study. And then the trifactor, the trifecta is studying from life itself, because that's the source of it all. That's the source of inspiration. So do that. Okay, so just to recap, just to recap, art art is derived from some sort of aspect of life. Perhaps it's just an emotion. Okay, so anyways, next question here is, do you have any particular tips to improve my main problem? Volume construction, values, tips to improve your main problem. Think about the direction that different planes are facing. Also, look to try to simplify planes that you see, structure that you see, into something much more understandable. For example, if you look at a pug's head, right? A pug's head, or sorry, perhaps not a pug's head, but um, a French bulldog. I know my my brother and his wife, they have a French bulldog. Look at his head and then try to see how you can simplify that head into a square, into a cube. Can you see it? Most likely you can, because they have a pretty square head. And that's a really simple one to start off with. After that, you can go on to harder ones. You can go on to, perhaps looking at a lizard and trying to see the rectangular cubes out of there and things like that. Try to simplify those. Dustin Clark says, take Steven Silver's class for volume. He's very into volume, as well as Tom Flaherty's drawing fundamentals. So those are two great suggestions um, by Mr. Clark in Texas. So right on. Okay, let's go on to the next question here. How do I exercise storytelling for painting? I usually have a hard time choosing which to show and how to compose details. Either the piece looks overworked or I feel I didn't tell enough. Um, if we're just going by, easiest way is Nathan Fowkes teaches an amazing pictorial composition class. It's called Pictorial Composition with Nathan Fowkes. And that's a extremely good class, and I believe, I'm not too sure because they fill up pretty quick, but I believe he does have an opening in his next class if you want to get the ultimate premium level where, Nathan will actually paint on top of your paintings, talking to you about your compositions and how to get them better and so on and so forth. That's gonna be great. Okay. Um, and Katie Jackson, she's such an awesome learner. Right on, Katie. She says that she's taking the composition course right now. Let's go to the next, and this is a cool thing about this period in time right now, because I feel like there's going to be this divide that just keeps getting bigger. You know, with the internet, with all this information, with knowledge being more and more accessible, affordable, whatever, it's going to make two groups. One that goes to the internet and sees all of this, stuff that wastes their time, perhaps makes them laugh, looking from one video to the other, spending hours and hours entertaining themselves. And then there's going to be the people like Katie that are hardcore learners and they are learning with their time, that's given to them. They're not wasting it or they're not spending it entertaining themselves just nonstop, supercharging their brains with knowledge. And what's going to happen, I feel, is that going to be is that there's going to be this huge divide between artists. The ones that supercharge themselves with knowledge constantly, and the people that just kind of like art and don't spend their time wisely, constantly getting better. Okay. So, big shouts out to Katie and all the other people that totally get it and are just nonstop learning, like what I do. That's exactly how I got to where I am today. It's not, one day, one thing, one job that got me here. It's about the consistent habits that I would have. I would wake up early to do my own art. I wake up early to do my own art constantly. No goal can be reached without controlled focus. So I try to really focus in on my goals. What are my goals? Right now, my goal is to make art education completely affordable for everybody. To change the world of art education. That is my goal. And if there's one thing that I would tell myself, the young 24-year-old version of me or the 19-year-old version of me or whatever, is to dream bigger. Dreaming is the lifeblood of success. If you have big dreams and you have a lot of effort, you put in an extreme amount of effort, and you put in an extreme amount of common sense, you will get there. In one way or another, you will get there. Okay, lots of other questions coming in. Let's go to another question here. So the next question here is, let's see here. Would it be good? Would it be a good idea to have a time limit for visualization exercises? I usually get caught up in rendering rather than practicing multiple drawings. I think the main thing here is to have variety in the time limit that you put into these things. Do some that are quick. Do some that take you a long time. And constantly vary it up. I found that what's helped me a lot is having a quick style and a slow style. The slow style is to make things extremely refined. Quick style is to get that idea out as soon as I can, but it's not going to be a finished looking piece. Okay, how should I start learning how to color? using traditional pencils, pastels, or digital tools like Photoshop. It doesn't matter, okay? I'm one to believe that it doesn't matter what you use, the medium that you use. Fundamentals are fundamentals, and how you express them is not nearly as important as just practicing the fundamentals, learning about the fundamentals in terms of like, what are the fundamentals? A lot of people always ask that. What are the fundamentals everybody always talks about? Fundamentals are things like structure, to be able to make things that are very three-dimensional feeling. Okay, even though it's on a 2D plane, it's on a piece of paper. It's things like lighting. How does light work? How does color work with light? How do different surfaces react to light? How does atmosphere work? How do bones work with muscles? And so on and so forth. Okay, let's go to the next question because there's a bunch. Are there any creative drawing games that you like to play, either by yourself or with other people? No. I like to just really focus in. Some people they like to play sports when they exercise. I just like to exercise because that to me is much more efficient. I am there for one purpose. It's not to play a game, it's to get better at something. And so I treat my art training the same way. Now this is going to be a really fun example here that I'm painting here because you can see that I'm starting to paint a lot of wrinkles. I'm really going to change this one, yet it's still going to be based off of the exact structural shapes that I began with. In this one, I'm going to make an old lady. So really bringing in the wrinkles, really bringing in the squinty eyes and the saggy cheeks and things like that. It's going to be great. Let's go on to the next question here. So, um, Bobby, didn't you study business? Okay, yeah, we already did that. Next one. You said that we need to know what we want to do and head towards it. But what if you're still discovering what you like or what you're good at? Hey, just keep thinking about it. Keep thinking about it. And sometimes the best thing to do is just put down everything that you don't like and then right beside it, write the opposite. Because I felt the same way. I wasn't sure what it is that I want to do. I was studying animation, I was studying storyboarding, layout, and so on and so forth. What should I do? I don't know. I don't feel like I know enough about everything to actually pick something. So what I did was I just wrote down everything I didn't want to do. And then I thought about my biggest advantages and how much did I like those. I knew I was pretty good at drawing, pretty good at, kind of good at painting, but I really loved painting. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Lack in fundamentals is really holding me back. The next question says, I know it's the same for other people, even though I'm graduating from art school soon. My fundamentals are weak. What is your advice? If you can, move back home. Live with your parents. Work on your fundamentals. The fundamentals, it's kind of like the art equivalent of the giant bamboo that grows in China. It grows underneath the ground for a few years, incubating, right? Incubating. You might not see the full potential yet, but once you really get your fundamentals down, then just like the giant bamboo, it will shoot up and grow, 20 feet in a year or something ridiculous like that. I'm not a scientist. Okay, if I got that wrong, don't blame me. But it grows extremely high in just 1 year. When all those other years you couldn't even tell what was going on. That's the exact thing that happens with fundamentals. Either way, at some point, fundamentals, not knowing your fundamentals, is going to stop you from growing. If you concentrate on your fundamentals now, then you won't have to do as many months or years doing jobs that you don't like to do. You'll be able to bypass a lot of that. I know this is stuff that they don't teach you in college. They don't say it or they don't even believe it in college. But I'm telling you that because that's exactly how I got to where I got to, in the amount of time that I did, which was a lot shorter than others. I worked on my fundamentals, I worked on my art. I didn't work my way up slowly. I just worked on my skills to the point where I can show skills that can obviously, very obviously, do those jobs that I really wanted to do. Okay, so let's go to the next question here. Do you think it's better to learn outside of college at places like Schoolism and Animation Mentor than seeking out an animation degree and coming out with a degree and a pile of debt? Hey, I went to college. I liked my time in college. That's where I met my wife, and that's where I met many of the friends that I have today in college. When I graduated college, I wasn't ready to actually get a job in a job that I really want to do. Um, but that was just me. Some people do. The thing is, I've been around. I've seen a lot of different schools. My school was pretty good. You know, Even though it didn't teach me digital painting, the people that I went to school with were really good, and that helps. Kind of gaining a network of coworkers and things like that. Um, on that note, I do feel like it's kind of like buying a car. If you can't afford a Ferrari, don't buy a 200,000 something dollar Ferrari. Buy a Honda, right? Same thing with school. If you can't afford $50,000 a year, don't do it because you're going to put yourself into some serious debt, some serious trouble. And if you have things that will push you towards getting a job immediately, well, I don't think that's an advantage for you anymore. Pressure is not necessarily a big advantage. Sometimes being able to wait for that perfect job that you want, working on your craft to get your skills up to that level where you're working towards that perfect job that you want. That's the much better, much quicker way to go than to feel this pressure. I need to get a job. I need to start paying off my student loan. So then you get a job that you don't even want. You know, it's important, right? So I hope that really helps you with this question. Would I take schoolism classes? If I was to go back around and do it all over again? Yeah, if there were schoolism classes and there was animation mentor, I think for sure I would do that because animation mentor has, and schoolism have definitely proven themselves over the years. Not only that, but like I said, I went to a pretty good school. There's a lot of extremely bad schools out there where they pretend like they know what they're doing, but those teachers never actually did any of the stuff that they say they know how to help you to get those jobs. That doesn't make sense to me. How can somebody that's never, rocked it on stage tell you how to rock it out on stage? They can't. The best people to get you to where you want to go are the people that are already there. And this also means that these aren't people that were there 25 years ago. It's the people that are very much in tune with what's happening now. I say that with the utmost respect because the only thing is because the industry keeps changing. It's changed so much over 25 years. So a lot of those things are no longer applicable. Excuse me. It's like um, Brenda Chapman. She is an ultimate master of story, head of story on The Lion King. Director, amazing. And she shocked me when she was saying, I don't even know if I really tried now, would I be able to get a storyboarding job? Just because people do feature film storyboards differently now. With camera moves and everything, the storyboarder is expected to do all these things. Composing the shot a lot more. When before, um, 25 years ago, it wasn't like that. There was actually a different department altogether that would help to compose the shot. So make sure that you can afford it. Whatever education you go into, make sure that you can afford it because education is supposed to be an advantage for us all, not a hindrance. Okay, so let's go on to the next question. I'm in high school. I'm trying to decide what to do after graduation. I want to be a concept artist for games and movies. Should I go to a game design school or just take online classes? Definitely, um, you know, okay, same kind of question, right? Go to a school, take online classes. If you go to a school, just make sure that you can afford it. Also, make sure that you look up the artists that have gone through that school and how long ago were they at the school. Is it still good? Is it still attracting great artists? The other thing is, which can be a little harder, look up the teachers that actually teach at that school. Try to find their art. Can they paint and draw? Can they do the things that they're supposed to teach you? Do they have a passion for it? A lot of teachers, they don't have a passion for drawing anymore, which is so sad because they are teachers. They are the ones teaching you how to become artists. Right now, if you could see me, I have my hands over my face because I'm just like so, like this topic is so dear to me. It's such a personal mission, and part of the whole entire mission why I started this whole mission of creating top level affordable art. Not just affordable art, but the very, very top level is because I had a lack of that. It was very difficult for me to get that knowledge, and it was only because of a lot of luck and the wonderful people that I was able to work with and continue to work with that taught me the skills that I have now. And I felt like that was so unfair. And that's exactly the reason why I started teaching on the subways for free. Some of you out there might have, joined me in on subway sketching, in Toronto, the Toronto Subway Sketch Group, where I would just teach people for free. If you came on a Sunday during a certain time, you would find me there and I would teach whoever came to draw people on the subways. That wasn't enough, so then I started to do these streams, and schoolism. And that wasn't enough, so we're trying to reduce schoolism prices down to a fraction of the cost. And that's, you know, it's all because of these problems with education that has driven me to these levels, which, I think is a good thing. In the end, it's still a great thing because when things are messed up, when there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of opportunity there to help people. Okay, Let's go on to the next question here. Next question says, I'm an illustration student at Sheridan. It's focused on editorial, but I want to do concept art. Should I stay and focus on what I can or what I can use, or bail and train alone, work a 9 to 5? As long as you can put in that effort, if you are extremely, if you're not disciplined, go to school because it helps. It gives you deadlines and things like that. It helps. Okay? If you are extremely disciplined, go to books, online schools, DVDs, learn from the greats, the people that have no time to teach, uh, 24/7, like as their main job. They're too busy evolving our industry, leading the pack. A lot of these people, they will do lessons, they'll do assignments and things like that. If your goal is to become a concept artist, perhaps you can still learn a few things from learning about how they do editorial stuff, as long as it's very representative. Okay, if it's very interpretive, well, guess what? That's not concept art, right? You need to learn your fundamentals and you need to be able to paint things very representative of what it'll look like on screen or on, in the game or whatever it is. Editorial, it's something that was huge back in the day, changed a lot over the just over the last, 7 years. It changed dramatically. So the best person to learn from, I would say, and I know this is true, Jason Seiler. Jason Seiler is one of the hottest editorial illustrators to date. Not as in he's hot looking and he's the best person to go on a date with, but what I'm saying is that he is the most, one of the most in demand editorial artists out there. So if you really want to learn how to do editorial art, learn from Jason himself. He has a class actually starting in May. Not only that, but when you take his class, after you take his class, it's so transformational. It's insane how much of a difference you will see in your work in a matter of weeks. He will take you from zero to completely professional. It's insane. Okay, next question. How important is it to learn 3D? Would you recommend spending the time trying to learn something like ZBrush to help my understanding with lighting and form? A lot of people say that, like Craig Mullins said that, learn from 3D programs to learn lighting and form as well. So how can you disagree with Craig Mullins, Let's go to the next question. I just checked the Imaginism store for art books. They're all sold out. Are there any plans to restock? There's no plans to restock, but there's plans to bring in new books because we're always working on new stuff. And so when the new book comes out, definitely get it because when it sells out, most likely we're not bringing it back. Schoolism is an art educational organization that has been offering high-quality education for professionals and art students through online courses and live workshops around the world. At Schoolism, we hold true to this. Great education begins with great mentors. And now, our newest mission is to take our library of courses and make it affordable and accessible to everyone through Schoolism subscriptions. After this Kickstarter, pledgers will be able to access knowledge in minutes that has taken the most successful and famous artists in animation, film, and illustration and more their entire careers to learn, and pledgers can access it for less than the price of a dinner each month. Kickstarter backers will receive a special rate of as low as $10 a month for any Schoolism course, and the more pledgers we get, the lower we will keep the prices when we introduce the permanent format on schoolism.com. If you want to excel in art,
then this may be the most important Kickstarter you will ever pledge for. The money we gain from this Kickstarter will be used to create more great courses and content for our website, but more importantly, the momentum of this campaign will allow so many more artists out there the same opportunities for great education that they couldn't afford before. Be a part of art education history and pledge today.